Where did this come from? Racing anime. 2025 was the year of racing anime, with Uma Musume coming out of nowhere and dominating global charts, taking over social media and everyone's wallets. All over TikTok, there were memes about it. There was even a group of people that went as far as dressing up as the characters and actually racing at a racetrack. But while we were all too busy crying about a horse girl who never won any races, a track anime movie dropped right under our noses. And who knew how much of a hidden gem this movie would be? 100 Meters was dropped on Netflix on the very last day of the year to bring what I would call a cinematic end to the year of racing anime. 100 Meters is not just your typical sports anime though. There's no power scaling. There's no special powers activated mid-race. It's nothing like a shonen that you find in typical sports anime. It is a raw storytelling about the struggles that athletes go through, dedicating their entire lives to a single sport. You've probably heard the saying, obsession will beat talent every time. But is that really true in reality? This is the ideology challenged in 100 Meters, as we follow two main characters, Togei, a naturally born fast runner, and Komiya, a naturally slow runner that had to work harder than everyone else, pushing himself to get faster each and every single day. 100 Meters is a story about, well, running, or at least that's how it looks on the surface. We have two main characters, Togei and Komiya. Togei is the fastest kid at school who was born with the gift of being a naturally fast runner, allowing himself to always dominate the 100 meters race at school. One day, a new kid transfers to his school named Komiya. Komiya is a rough-looking kid who runs all the time, but is all awkward and slow about it. I mean, just look at him. When he sees how fast of a runner Togei is, he begs him to be his coach to help him get faster for sports day. Realizing that running is an escape for Komiya, Togei agrees to coach him. Day by day, leading up to the sports day, we see Komiya running absolutely everywhere, pushing himself past his limits, not allowing himself to rest. Finally, the day of reckoning comes and we get to see if all of his hard work pays off. Togei sweeps his race, absolutely dominating as to be expected. Then it's Komiya's turn. The gun goes off and an all-out battle begins. Komiya gives it all he has, pushing himself so hard that his nose bleeds. A true visualization of someone that is willing to destroy himself just to win this race. And he does. And by doing so, he begins his lifelong struggle of being obsessed with winning. This part specifically is a moment I find to be very dear to me. We all have that specific memory in our lives where we found our lifelong obsession. Deep-rooted obsessions are often built at a young age. And no, I'm not talking about obsessions like dinosaurs, cars, or trains. I'm talking about obsessions that shape us into the people we become when we get older. Growing up, I was always told to think of the future, and I'm sure other families are this way as well. In school, we had days like Career Day, meant to plant that seed in our heads to pick our futures when we are only like 5 to 9 years old. And that seed is the obsession I am talking about. When most people are asked about why they chose to do what they do, they often say, it's what I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. This is the underlying theme for every character in this movie. As they mold into elite athletes, they all have one thing in common: a single goal that defines them, and that's because it's all they have ever known. When I first watched the trailer for 100 Meters, I thought this was going to be a story about the argument of talent versus obsession, but it wasn't until I actually watched the movie that I learned what it's really about. It has nothing to do with either of those. This movie is about being an elite athlete and what they go through. We're brought into the minds of multiple athletes that all have their own struggles, like self-worth issues, anxiety, personal insecurities, and being lonely at the top. 100 Meters is a project that doesn't just feel like you're watching the development of a random athlete's story. It feels like you're watching someone's genuine life that they lived and they wrote a biographical manga about it. Oh, wait, shit, they actually kinda did. As you watch 100 meters, you get more and more invested in each character's story. Even the side characters like Nagami. Nagami was a prodigy runner a few years ahead of Togashi, but when he was placed up against him in a race, the seed of reality was placed in him of self-doubt and there is always someone who is better than you no matter what. Then going on a few years later, an injury was the nail in the coffin to make him give up his dream of being a runner. Another great perspective is Zaitsu, another publicly acclaimed gifted runner who Komiya himself talks to about his performance anxiety. This guy Zaitsu is literally the track version of Lightning McQueen, not only during his interview, but even how he ends up retiring. I don't know if they wrote him like this on purpose, but as I was watching these two specific parts of the movie, all I could think was, hey, they stole this dude's philosophies from Cars. Each character has a level of relatability in their own way, and despite dealing with their own struggles, they help each other out, going to each other for advice about their own problems. Each piece of 100 meters was methodically crafted down to the last detail. But there are two scenes that stood out to me the most in this movie, the first being the rain race, and the second being Togashi's breakdown. I honestly don't even know where to begin with this rain race sequence. The animation, the cinematography, the music, it's all borderline perfection. This race is one of the most developmental races for both Togashi and Komiya. Togashi goes into this race full of confidence, even being egotistical in his interaction with Komiya before the race, while Komiya is the complete opposite. He's going into this race with a clear mind for the first time after taking Zaitsu's advice. As the racers are lining up, it's almost like watching the Olympics. The level of sheer detailing and cinematography that went into this sequence was something I have never seen in an anime before, but the race itself is even more impressive. The gun goes off, and the runners begin racing in the best rotoscoping animation I have ever seen in any piece of media. As it zooms in on Togashi and Komiya's faces, we see the complete opposite from when they raced as kids. Togashi is the one giving it his all this time, and Komiya is actually the calm one. The race ends with Komiya beating Togashi, leaving Togashi completely stunned. Up until now, Togashi has been backed by his own confidence, thinking this comeback of his was gonna be a breeze, but his world collapsed in this very moment, once again knowing what it's like to taste defeat. We all know the saying, all good things must come to an end, but when that thing has been your entire life, how are you supposed to accept that? We go 10 years in the future where Togashi is now a professional runner going into a year of make or break for his career. Coming off of a rough previous year, he has to prove to his company that sponsors him that he can still perform and give adequate results. This is when the worst thing possible happens to Togashi. While practicing for the national championship, he strains a muscle. And an injury like this, especially for runners, takes no less than 6 months to recover from. But Togashi doesn't have that since the championship race is only a week away. As Togashi reflects in the park about what he's gonna do, he oversees some kids running, getting ready for their sports day race. So Togashi decides to walk over and give them some advice. But in doing so, he ends up sending himself into a breakdown that even weeks after watching this, still has me almost shedding a tear. We see an athlete whose whole life is in shambles as mixed emotions like helplessness, fear, anger, and nothingness all pour out of him. And as the viewer, all you can do in this moment is just sit there, and you're left there with a slight sense of a sick feeling in your stomach. Up until this moment, we have Togashi put on this confident guy act, so to see all this crumble down in an instant almost hurts to watch. All you want to do is just give the guy a hug and tell him it will be alright. Not only is the story amazing, but I want to give some love to the underground studio that animated this movie, Rock and Roll Mountain. Yes, that is really their name. According to my anime list, this studio was founded in 2020 and only has done one other production, which in comparison to 100 meters, isn't that good. So to see such a new company in the industry not only produce something at such a high quality, but also challenge the medium by rejecting the normality of CGI and doing rotoscoping instead is something I loved to see. Rotoscoping is something I have been seeing get a lot more popular lately, especially with Smiling Friends doing it a couple of times. So to now see it in such a well done anime movie, I'm hoping some other anime studios will take a page out of Rock and Roll Mountain's book and get away from the bad CGI. Berserk. 100 Meters is easily the best movie to come out in 2025, in my opinion. So if you're wanting to get away from the shitty seasonal isekais, or just need something to watch while you wait for the next episode of this season's weeklies to come out, I highly recommend you give this movie a chance. You'll come out of it with a different perspective on life, which I know I say that about every anime I cover, but I truly mean it with this one. From beginning to end, this movie has you hooked. It never feels like there is a dull moment, and by the end of it all, you're left there, speechless, begging for there to be more. What is going on, my beautiful weebs? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, let me know. Hit that like button, and if you're not already, hit that subscribe button. And other than that, I don't really have anything else to say. So I guess I will see you in the next video. Ciao.